Hi, Iro. Hello.
Hi. Hi.
How are you? Good afternoon. It is lovely to see
Well, good
you.
evening here.
Right, good evening.
Same here. Same here.
I keep forgetting. It's been such a rainy day here. So it got really dark. I was worried that there was going to be a thunderstorm, but things have started to clear out. Thank God. It's still raining, but it's nice. How are you doing today?
So we'll have a nice day here. It's been a good day. I had some bad news
Oh
earlier, but
dear.
it's life, ups, downs, good, bad, and you find a way to just sort of rise above it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. And I'm looking forward to this discussion
Yeah.
or conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. It was really short notice. Now, what happened was I noticed that you had reopened your salon, and once I saw that, I'm like, yes, I want to have a conversation with you because you are in several businesses, but then your salon and spa business, particularly, you're dealing with human beings one on one. You have human beings that have to work on people's hairs, people's body, and that must have been a lot of consideration figuring out how to open this period. Before we go into that conversation, though, let's get to know you. Who is Iro? Where has Iro come from? Who is Iro now? Tell us that journey.
Okay, so my name is Iroghama Obuoforibo. I am an entrepreneur, serial one, I think. I have the opportunity to work in three different businesses in three different industries as well. So oil and gas, marine logistics company. We have 11 vessels working offshore, supporting the international oil companies and their operations. We also have a private security company that has about 400 guards working in her employ. And then, of course, there's the beauty brand called Heaven, which is the one you just referred to. We own two salons and a spa, and we also manufacture our own products, haircare products. So that's Eero in a nutshell. And yes, I have two beautiful girls. They're 3 years old, and I'm extremely proud of to be their mama.
You've got like, I feel like when I think about you, I'm like, how is she doing it? How many hands do you have? How are you able to manage it? I mean, it's one thing to have a person who's,
I was about to help you count.
I think that it's one thing to have a person who's got multiple businesses within the same industry or within industries that are very intertwined, but you've got businesses in three different industries that are not necessarily relating with each other. So how are you making that
Yeah.
work?
Structure. So structure and more structure. And also, I think, there are certain things that no matter what, we can't run away from the fact that there's some things that are innate, right? And then there's a place for mentorship. So I learned a lot. My dad is one of my biggest mentors, astute businessman and a professional to the core. So definitely sitting under his mentorship has helped me build the capacity that's required to be able to run these multiple businesses. But there are certain things and certain principles that are standard across them, that apply to all the businesses, right? So there are business principles that still apply to the security company, apply to this beauty brand. There's also the aspect of strategy. There's a place for strategy. There's a place for innovation. There's a place for human resource management. And all those factors are applicable across board. So it's only when you get to the technical aspect of the operations that you now begin to distinguish between the three businesses. But technically, running all of them is almost relatively the same. It still requires the same level of leadership skill. It still requires the same level of patience, sort of thought process, and just your ability to basically drive people and get them to buy into your vision, run with it, and make a success of it. So all three businesses require that skill. So I guess it kind of
You
helps.
talked about something that I like to talk about a lot, mentorship. A lot of people say, I want a mentor or I want to be a mentor. How do you make that relationship work, especially to your situation? It's a peculiar situation. It's your dad. Where do you draw the line between, yeah, my daddy, I'm your baby girl, to you're my mentor, I'm your mentee? How do you manage that? And how do you manage the relationship with other people that are mentors and other people that you mentor as well?
Okay, so for me, I have great mentors. Aside from my father, who didn't have a choice, by the way, he was automatically a mentor, whether he liked it or not. I have great male and female mentors, people who mentor me for different aspects of my life. I think it's also important to identify why you need a mentor. So it's
Mm,
not just keying into a fad or thinking that this is in vogue or my friend has a mentor or it looks like it's cool to have a mentor. You have to be very clear as to what's the objective of this mentor mentee relationship, right? And then also, if you once you're clear about that, then it guides the relationship. I find that a lot of people, and your mentor doesn't always have to be someone who's popular, someone who's out there, because most times you find that they can't even mentor you personally because they're so busy,
mm-hmm.
right? And a lot of people just like you want to be mentored by them. So if you don't understand what you want from the relationship, then you as a mentee you might get dissatisfied, right? Because this person doesn't have the time that you have hoped that they would have, or they're not giving you the sort of attention that you would have liked to receive from them, and then you tag them a bad mentor. But that's not
Mm,
necessarily the point, because the point is, what were you going into the relationship for? What was your agenda? And then also I find with my mentors that they like vice versa relationships. They don't like oh, I'm just here to drink
yeah,
from you. Like, that doesn't make them feel good that you want to drink from them. They have to be filled up as well. Because just as you're drinking, like 50 million other people are also drinking. Their businesses are drinking from them. Their marriages are drinking from them. Their kids are drinking from them. So they want to be filled as well. So I find that most of the people that are my mentors, that I call my mentors today, they appreciate that I'm bringing something to the table as a mentee, not just coming to collect, but there's a trade-off, right? So I'm able to help, I'm able to add value, and then I'm serious. So a lot of mentees, they come and they say, oh, so after the first conversation, there's that commitment is not there. So if you're looking for a mentoring relationship, then you have to be ready to put in the work.
mm,
Because if a mentor is going to take time out to teach you, to counsel, to advise, to be a sounding board for you, for your ideas, they expect that when they discuss with you and you set milestones, that you go out and achieve those
right.
milestones. It sucks to finish having a 1 hour session and you agree that in 2 weeks this XYZ will be done, and in 2 weeks time you can't even find your mentee, and then 3 weeks later they show up and like, oh yeah, this happened to me and that happened to me.
Excuses.
All you need to do is do that twice, and then you lose the
Yeah,
relationship, right? So there's a lot that goes into this sort of relationships, and I feel that both parties have to go in understanding the expectations of the other party, right? So the mentor understanding what the mentee wants to take out of that relationship, and the mentee also equally understanding what the mentor is able to give and what the mentor's expectations are of them in terms of what their outputs would be, right? Because it's a relationship after all. So as regards mine or my dad, I mean, I'll be his little girl, maybe for, I'm sure, for life, no matter how old I get. So it started off with him just basically watching me want to start and grow my own business and being extremely interested in how I was going about it. And I remember him teaching me how to use Excel
aw,
when I didn't have the software. Yeah, how to use Excel to record my sales, how to determine my cost of goods and things like that. And so we've come a very long way in the journey of mentorship in terms of entrepreneurship. And now I've worked with him, so we've transitioned from me being my own sole entrepreneur, doing my thing, and him just keeping a watchful eye, and me now working with him, helping him build his business, take it to the next level, and grow it. Right. So there's a different kind of mentorship that I'm experiencing with him. I'm learning leadership. So I'm
yeah,
learning leadership. So I'm going away from learning how to run a business to now how to lead people, how to lead by example, how to lead by integrity, what kinds of values I should have as a leader, how to tackle issues, how to manage people that work under me, and how to negotiate and how to engage third parties. So it's a different sort of lesson that I'm learning, like a different stage. But I mean, I'm enjoying it, and I'm glad. Earlier, I just want to make another point about mentorship. And when I talked about identifying what you want out of it. So one person might not be able to mentor you on everything because
true.
nobody's
Mm-hmm.
perfect. So for example, you want a mentor on life's issues. So let's say you're married and you want a mentor who can mentor you as regards marriage. You need to identify someone who you believe you respect, you trust, their life is an example to you. Obviously, you aspire to be what they are in their marriage, and you feel that you can connect with their experience and learn from it. And then you connect to that. And then they might not be the best business
Yeah,
person. So they might not be able to necessarily mentor you, in a professional career or even in your entrepreneurial journey. but they can mentor you in terms of life. So that's why really just understanding what your expectations are, what you want to achieve, is extremely important in going into that kind of
I
relationship.
really like that you talked about having different mentors for different things, because that's something that that I have as a person. And I remember I was speaking to one of my mentors. It was a group mentoring call that he had, and we were all just talking about where we were and what we were, the gaps that we felt we wanted to fill, because he recognized he couldn't fill all the gaps, but he was like, perhaps I know a person who would be happy to work with you, right? So let's talk about it. And I said to him that I did not have a female mentor. I didn't have a female in close proximity that I could talk to about female things. You know, I had a spiritual mentor that was male. I had a career mentor who was him helping me navigate my career, but I didn't have a female mentor. And something he said to me was, the fact that you're able to identify that you need that is already you doing 50% of the work. Now, what we're going to do is determine the exact things you need from a female mentor, and then we'll identify someone and we'll figure out how you can approach that person. Because he didn't know anyone he could recommend, but we figured out a strategy to pinpoint a bunch of people that I could approach. So it's that thing where you just need to recognize that there are certain gaps that different people need to fill in you, and reach out to have those things filled. So I like that you mentioned that. Now, with working, I mean, what some of the businesses you're running are like family businesses, right? Let's talk a bit about that transition. How did you go from being that young girl who was just the Oga's daughter to being the young girl who is running the show?
Yeah. Well, I think that for anyone who has worked in the family business, and particularly not grown through the ranks, I didn't grow through the ranks. I didn't come in as an intern, fresh off university, and then began to climb my way up. No, I came in like right at the top, right? So I'm sure anybody else who's been in that position before and who has had to be placed in such a responsible role at top level would have probably faced just exactly what you said, where people first of all going to view you from a place of
Mm-hmm.
skepticism, like, okay, you're here not necessarily out of merit or because you actually know what you're doing, but you're here just because your dad or your mom owns the business. And maybe if they didn't own the business, you wouldn't even be here. You wouldn't have this platform. So certainly, I think the first thing first is believing in
Right.
yourself. So I knew my worth. I was running my business, right? I was poached from my business to come and work in family
Your
business.
father
Yeah, I
poached you.
was. I was running my business. Literally, after a lot of cajoling from consultants, right? So I wasn't like jobless and had nothing doing, and he just thought, oh, what am I going to just do with this child of mine? Come and do this. No, like my dad is extremely principled, and you would never catch him dead doing that kind of thing. Never, no, because he values the future of his employees, so he's not going to risk it because of one family member, right? So it was a case of I had sort of proven myself and I had displayed that I had a certain level of capacity to take on this sort of responsibility. I had also shown him that I was responsible financially in terms of my lifestyle, in terms of my spending habits, and just how I viewed money and how I treated money. So I had shown him all those things. So when the opportunity came and I was recommended for the position, aside from him just being afraid that I didn't have the technical capacity to run the business, it was a case he didn't doubt my integrity. He didn't doubt that, okay, maybe she can try, but I don't know, is it going to be too much for her? So, and that's why he gave it a shot, right? So I now had, so he, while he believed in me, I had this group of almost like 100 people I was suddenly leading, who now I needed them to now believe in me,
Mm-hmm.
to say that whatever dad saw or whatever the consultant saw, I needed them to see it as well and trust me that I could lead them to wherever the company was going. So I couldn't come in with an attitude. I couldn't come
Right.
in like thinking, oh, I'm going to call the shots here. No, I had to come in extremely humble. I had to come in, I had to bring myself down. I had to show people that, I'm here to work for both of us. So I had to get them on board with me. So I didn't come in with any expectations. I came in with zero expectation. And apart from the fact that I was scared shitless as well, but I came in with no expectations. I came in with an open mind and a mind to learn, because I hadn't been in the business before. So obviously there was a lot that I could learn from my colleagues at that time. So even though I was fast, my brain processes really quickly, even though I had been running my own business, calling my own shots and doing things my way, I had to learn how to work with this new set of people who were also much older than me.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a place for being firm, and there was a place for being kind and fair and just, aside from just being firm. So I needed to learn that. And this is a 29-year-old who you just thrown into this, multi-million-dollar company and put her at the helm of affairs, and you're saying, run it and do, call the shots. And so
And make it
it was a
successful,
real
make it
learning process.
work.
But
Yeah, that's some
exactly,
pressure.
make it work, make it thrive, make it
Hmm.
grow, because that's the real test of your ability. That you come in and you've taken something from where it was and you've been able to take it up a few notches,
And you've
right,
done
over a
that.
period
You've
of
done
time,
that over the past couple of years.
with help from my guys at work. Yes, I have. Thankfully, I have to give them credit because they do a lot of the work. So yes, we've managed to get the company to a point where it's thriving even in a recession. We've had two recessions, two downturns in the space of about 4 years, and the company has still continued to grow. And it's really amazing, what good leadership, visionary leadership can do, what teamwork can
Yeah.
do, being able to get people's buy-in into what you're doing and then get them to believe in it and be committed and dedicated enough to work with you and take you to the promised land. It's
I think
amazing.
a takeaway for me from what you said is first, you need to in your space build competence, right? Show capacity, show that you know what you're doing. And then when opportunity comes, even with that competence that you have, you need to approach every new opportunity from a place of humility, from a place of openness to new knowledge and learning.
Like,
Yeah, that is definitely a key takeaway, I
exactly.
would say. So you talked about helping the business and it's thrived through recessions. You've got three businesses you're running. You've reopened your salon and spa in the middle of a pandemic. Talk us through that process, that mental process, and everything that goes into that to even come to a place where you're able to confidently say, okay, I am going to reopen and I am going to help my customers and my staff feel safe coming to work despite everything going on in the country and in the world right now.
So I'm just going to backtrack a bit to when we began to realize that this this shit was real. Basically, like at the point where we realized that it was going to have very far-reaching implications on everything from our revenue to our livelihood to everything about life as we knew it, basically. And that was like in March,
Mm-hmm.
right? When they shut the airspace, when the Nigerian government began to restrict flights. And then I think that's when a lot of people woke up to the reality that this coronavirus is real. And even though we don't really know what's going on, it's going to affect us in some way. Even if we didn't believe that it was real, all we knew was that something big is happening and we need to really keep our eyes, focused on what's going on. And so from March, as a business, as a beauty business, we began to experience low sales. We began to see people, because people weren't clear on what exactly was going on, people decided to be, err on the side of caution.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't coming in much. So by the end of March, when we were closing, our sales, we had experienced like record low sales than we had in the past, like maybe in the past 2 years. So I knew it was time to have a conversation with my team. And obviously we had to shut down because everybody was shutting down, even though the government hadn't said shut down as at that point, but other businesses were shutting down. So it seemed like the responsible thing to do was to also shut
Mm-hmm.
down while you figured out what was going on. So I had a session. Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
So I had a session with my team, after we closed, and let them know that we're shutting down indefinitely, meaning that we weren't going to be opening. I didn't know, because I had no answers. Even as the CEO, I had no answers for them. I didn't know what we're gonna do, where we're gonna go from there. But all I knew was that we had to shut down, and that things were not very clear. So I paid everyone off, and I said I was going to pay you, try to save, because this might even be the end of the world for all we know. So just prepare and make peace with God at this point, if rapture comes and all of that. So we shut down, and it was like temporary. Let's see, are we going to open next week? So my manager would call me every week. So are we opening? So what's the plan? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know who to ask. So let's just watch and see. And then the lockdowns began. So they began to lock down everywhere. So in April, we had a few lockdowns, so we were shut down. Then we had some time in between where people would call, oh, please, I really, really need a service because I'm still working. People were still working. People were working on Zoom, and so they still needed to look presentable, even though
Yeah.
they weren't going
Yeah.
into the office. And most of them, their offices required them to have the video on. So they couldn't get away with no video and just some nice looking picture there. They had to look presentable. So they still required services. So we tried our best during that time. First of all, we refused any home service because I couldn't guarantee the safety of my workers in a space other than mine. At least within my space, I could ensure certain measures were put in place, and I could ensure that the client did certain things. But in their space, it would have been impossible to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we took only very few critical appointments at that time. And it was costly because we had to run our generators, for power, and you'd have just one or two people in your space. But because we had to meet the needs of this particular client and we really didn't know what was going on, we did. So we had very poor sales in April. We lost a lot of money in April, lost a lot of money in May. And then things now began to ease off and we're like, okay, we're going to open. So by May, I realized that lockdowns were being lifted, restrictions seemed to be lifting. People were literally, economy was opening up again. So people were like, are you not going to open? We need to come back in. I need to wax. I need to do my chin hairs like all over the place. I need all of that stuff. So we spent all of May. I was having conference calls with my team, my management team, every night. I think they were sick of me. We were strategizing, like from our brand image, because before we had positioned ourselves as luxury at an affordable price, luxury ambience, nice environment, professionalism, customer service. And suddenly, nobody really cares about your luxury ambience. Now, people just care about, I want to be safe. I want to do my hair and live here without the coronavirus. Is that possible? And so it's not even about how plush your chairs are at this point. Is this safe for me to come and do my service and render and receive my service? So we had to reposition ourselves from luxury and nice and beautiful and comfortable to safe. As simple as that. So that was that first shift. Like, we're going to have to shift our brand image and make it about that this is the place to come if you want to be safe, want to receive services safely. So then there was also, what do we do about the staff? So we had to, I had to read up. So thankfully, I'm part of two foundations that have worked throughout the COVID, the pandemic and the shutdown. One from a palliative perspective, the other from a medical intervention perspective. So through the Medical Intervention Foundation, I've learned a whole lot. I've taken a lot of training on how to on COVID-19 and how to act, when to use different kinds of PPE. So I knew when not to use gloves. Like in my salon, they don't use gloves unless they would have ordinarily used gloves. So instead, we've made available wash stations in every location, and we're teaching the staff, you wash your hand before you work on a client and after you work on a client, before you get to the next client, as opposed to wearing gloves, and you have this false sense of protection.
Right.
Meanwhile, you're just carrying virus from one place to another because you feel, I'm wearing gloves. So it was very important to sort of understand. But if you hadn't had all that training and exposure, you would just be opening and, oh, let's just open and spray some disinfectant here and then it's going to be fine. So we had to basically just look at our entire process. How many clients can we have at a time? We had to move to tech so people could now have to book appointments. So you're calling to book appointment. Before, you're just walking. So you walk in, the whole place will be full, and you see there'll be nowhere to sit. But now we're like, we don't want any crowd. You're like, you have to book, and you have to change the mindset, not just of your staff, but even of your clients. I had clients asking me, oh, when do I have to book an appointment? There's Corona. There's COVID. COVID-19 is why you have to book an appointment. But aside from that, there was a case I had to basically show them that it's even better for you if you book an appointment, because then you save the waiting time. But now in Nigeria, when you come to the salon, you could be here for 5 hours waiting for your turn. But now you book an appointment. So there will be staff waiting for you. You come in, you get your service within 1 hour, 2 hours, you're done, and you go about the rest of your day. So you can even plan better. And they're like, oh, that's a good point. I'm like, wow, Corona wasn't good enough a point. So we have to show the other value add to make an appointment.
That is such a quick pivot.
That
is such a quick pivot right there, because sometimes the thing that's obvious is not even the thing that people care about. You have to figure out the emotional connection to this new thing you're bringing. I like it.
Exactly. Yeah. So there was a lot of training, there was a lot of planning that went on behind the scenes, and we decided, okay, we're going to open for real 1st of June. We had to buy hand sanitizers, we had to buy gallons of hand washed, antibacterial hand wash. We had to install a wash station, and then everything had to be non-contact. So even your tap is such that you swipe your hand and you need to wash your hand. Now we're having to get like hand dryers, automated hand dryers, so you can just dry your hand. So basically, you don't have to touch anything. I wish they could just blow and the door opens. I really, really wish that we could do that and install one of those doors as well where you don't have to touch. So now everybody's like, I don't want to touch. I just want to come in and float in, do my service and go away. And that's the reality of our times, right? We have to check your temperature at the gate. Without a mask, you don't enter our premises. You must wear a mask. No mask, no entry. So life has truly changed from what we've known it as. And, people are trying as much as possible to get comfortable with the new reality. It's not easy. It's extremely difficult. But I think that as we see the numbers rising, we realize this is probably going to be here a while. So we're trying to figure out, how do I exist alongside this virus? How do I still thrive? How do I still get things done? Even while in the middle of a pandemic. Someone needs to write a book about that, by the way.
I feel like
How to thrive in a pandemic.
I feel like a bunch of business owners need to just come together and write a couple of books, really, because there will be a lot of lessons, I think, from this season, from 2020 as a year.
Yeah.
It will be that year that a lot of us learn a lot of lessons, learn to sort of sit down with ourselves a little bit more and figure things out in a different way.
Yes.
There's a comment up here, and that was going to be my next question. Everything that you've spoken about, I feel like there's a lot of thought that went in, a lot of effort, and definitely a lot of money that went into that. How are you balancing that out, and how are your customers responding? I mean, you shared a bit about your customers' response to the reopening, but then with things like no mask, no entry, there might be some changes in the cost of services that they're familiar with. How are you managing that between your staff, your customers, and helping there be a balance so that it's not a total loss for you as a business owner?
Exactly. So I want to just first of all say that one of the other things that we had to do was to look at our product offering, right? So because even the need of your client is changing, right? So whereas the client was okay coming in and doing all kinds of hairstyles and designs and things like that because they were going out, now they're not going out anymore. So they're most likely, oh, I just want to throw on a wig. So they're coming to you to weave their hair only, as opposed to doing all kinds of exorbitant styles. So we had to quickly think, okay, what would our clients like at this time, and what can we channel our energy? So there's the thought is like you're revamping everything, not just your processes. You're also looking at your products as well and saying, is my product still relevant today in terms of the new reality that we're in? So we had to quickly begin to offer other products. So we amped our skincare products, what was available, because you have more people doing it themselves as opposed to coming in wigs. We're now focusing on producing wigs so that people can have more wider variety of how they look, since they still need to look presentable at work through Zoom and other Microsoft Teams and other platforms. So in terms of the cost, so obviously it came with a cost, because last time I checked, the cost of buying a digital thermometer was like anything between 40 to 50,000 naira, right? And you're going to buy a batteries to run it. A pack of 4 batteries is 1,000 naira. Only God knows how long those batteries last when they're checking like 20 people, 30 people's temperatures every day. And then you're buying, so all those things are cost. Hand sanitizers, I don't want to go there, how expensive hand sanitizers are, So there definitely was a cost. And then the cost of goods increased. Restrictions along the borders, internationally and locally. So obviously the things you could get at a particular price, suddenly we're getting them for almost double the price. So ideally, who would have paid for this extra cost? Ideally, it would be the client, right? And that was the sentiment that my manager shared, like, oh, we have to increase all our prices. But I said to him, we're not in this pandemic alone. Our clients, our customers are also suffering, just like us. Some of them have lost their jobs. Some of them now earn maybe 40% less salary. Some of them, their partners no longer work. Their businesses have shut down, unlike ours that can still thrive, that still has a market. Some of them, they've lost all their customers, but they still need to receive these services. So we need to find the balance between trying to ensure that, like you said, we're not running out of loss, but at the same time, our clients can still come in and receive the service that they're used to receiving. So I had to do a lot of due diligence on the price list. Like there had to be a proper justification. I had to put on my customer cap to say, if I'm a client, would I really pay this for this service? Can I afford to do this at this time? Can we afford to leave the price? If our margins before were such that it could accommodate the new increase in product, then let's do that. So this is a time for us and our customers to band together, to hold together and say, we're going to get through this time this season together, so we can come out standing at the end, and then we can continue and pick up the beautiful relationship from where we left off. And that's basically what we've done. So we've tried, at least so far, most of our customers who have come, they still enjoy the same services, at the same price that they used to. And anyone that's increased, we're able to justify. I say that word, you must be able to justify it. You must be, like, from a conscience perspective, you must be able to justify. I am not of the school of thought that this is a time to profiteer off anybody's pain, of anybody at this time, because, oh, I have the opportunity, I'm going to just rip people off now. I'm not of that school of thought. I believe that you reap what you sow, and I want to sow the right seeds as a person and as a business, even at a time like this, so that when I harvest, I will be harvesting like really bountifully, and God will remember that I sowed this sort of seeds at this time.
Yeah, everything that you said just now is like perfect, perfect for me, because you said something about your customer cap, and I think that is a thing that anyone who is in, whether you're a worker, whether you're an entrepreneur, you always need to be able to think from the perspective of your customer. Think about your product offerings and think about how that impacts your customer. Do you want to have a situation where your customer leaves your business feeling like they have been completely ripped off and made naked, or do you want them to feel like they have been cared for? And I think that's the perspective that you're coming from, and that is beautiful. You guys have opened, so you've been open for about 2 weeks now. How has it been so far? What's the response like? How do your customers feel? How do your staff feel? We need to talk about your staff. How do they feel with the reopening?
So I think my staff are trying to adjust. They're really, really trying their best to get used to the new, having to wear a mask or a face shield or
and wash
both
their hands
from when they
multiple
walk into the
times.
community. Yeah, to the end. And basically they can't hug each other anymore. They can't, they less talking in the space, and if you're not doing any work, you have to be outside or in the other building. So it's a lot of change for them. But they understand, because obviously they're watching the news, and there's a lot of sensitization that we're doing, because we need them to understand. They can't afford to go home and get brainwashed by the people in their home saying, oh, there's no corona, it's rich people's illness. Well, guess what? You work on rich people, so you best be taking care of yourself. if really it's rich people's illness. So then we had to do a lot of information providing and just sensitization, basically. But for our clients, so far our clients are happy, and I think it was important for us to do a video, because I up till now I still get people asking me, oh, are you guys open now? Are you guys open now? So, and then I get drilled a lot on Instagram. What sort of measures have you put in place since you want to open? What are your plans for your clients? How are you going to guarantee our safety? And that's why I had to do that video. So I did a video that basically just showed the world that this is what we're doing as a small business, a beauty business in the city of Port Harcourt. This is what we're doing to try our best to ensure that we curb the spread of the coronavirus within our facility. These are the measures we've put in place to protect your safety. And we basically wanted them to also understand what we're doing, where we're coming from, so they could abide. For example, no mask, no entry. So I've not had any incidents where clients have come and they try to challenge the security for not letting them in because they had no mask. So in fact, what I did as well was that I bought like a lot of masks, like about 100 masks in my store, and I have it. So when you come, if you get to the gate and you don't have a mask, we can actually provide you with a new mask in the packet, right? So you don't have to go away, because we have said, oh, no mask, no entry.
That's
So I
another
think
quick
that
pivot
there's been
right
a
there,
lot of
because now you're a beauty business that has masks as well.
mask for sale. So you're at the gate. Oh, I don't have no mask. Oh, here you go. So and that's just another service, and it belongs to you. Go away with it, because it's reusable. You can wash it, use it again, and then so that way you're able to come, and even if you forgot, you can still come in and access your service. So our clients, I think so far we've gotten quite good response compared to the previous months. So it's obvious that people were dying to come back to receive their services, and once they come in, the place is not as full as it used to be, because we try to take more of appointments than walk-ins. We call and we've educated our customers on what they need to be doing. So we find that people are comfortable sending their kids over to come in and receive the service, which was something that we're concerned about. Our kids, because we used to always have a lot of kids. We love our kids, and they were one of our biggest customer base. and we worried that we're going to lose that. But now gradually the confidence is growing and people are coming in. I think people just want to come and check. Is this for real? Do you really have these measures in place? Are you really serious about it? Do I come and do I see a crowd, or do I come in and I can comfortably get my service, and go away? But don't get me wrong. I mean, we're not where we used to be. And I have no expectation as of today that I'm going to get back to where we used to be tomorrow. Like, I'm literally taking it one day at a time. And that's what I tell my staff. I said, we have no targets. So previously, we always had a target. Like, oh, we want to smash this target this month. Right now, we have no target. I'm like, let's just be happy to be alive.
Yeah.
Right? Let's just be happy that we're able to open tomorrow. Let's be happy that we're able to make 1 naira tomorrow at the end of day. So there's no target. There's no, oh, we're struggling to go make this. We're just saying, let's focus on the safety, on quality that we're known for, and just to be alive for now, right? Survive while still giving them what they need. So I think that my staff are gradually getting used to this new way of life and the expectations from them. It's not easy. It's not even easy for me, even as a business owner, even as exposed and as knowledgeable as I am. It's still tough, right? But the reality stares us in the face every day. We're reminded almost on a daily basis on that this is real and that we're living in it, and we're just going to have to find a way to survive it and thrive even in it. So.
Let's talk a bit about mental resilience, because I think that, just being able to see this situation, recognize it for what it is, and then make decisions that help you adapt and be flexible and pivot and just figure out the little things that you need to figure out so that at least you can move forward. And I feel like moving forward is also a thing of responsibility, right? Because you being successful in your business is a form of livelihood for the people who work for you. So your business folding is bad for them. That is you, So I think, taking on that responsibility and saying, I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to egg on, that has to have some sort of it has to require some sort of mental capacity. Where is your head at? What are you doing to strengthen your mind and your will? How are you figuring that out and not just saying to yourself, you know what, I am not doing anything again. My hands are up. I'm done. How are you able to do that?
In fact, I was taking deep breaths just as you were speaking and explaining it and putting it in words, because sometimes you just think it, we never really verbalize it, and you don't understand the weight of what you're carrying until someone else actually puts it in words for you, just as you've done. And the truth is, I try not to think about it. Well, aside from the obvious fact that the God factor, I'm a believer, and God has been faithful and He has been fantastic, and I believe strongly that the reason why we're able to keep doing what we're doing and why I have the capacity that I have today is because of God, and I completely trust in that. But I also have learned how to compartmentalize, and I think it's I always say, is it a blessing or is it a curse? And everyone says it's a blessing, but I think it can also be a curse, because then you might run away from confronting certain things when you should, because you've learned how to just put it away in a box, lock it up, and throw away the key, and never find the key again. But anyways, I have actually learned how to compartmentalize. So.
Okay. Iro, if you're on, I just sent you a request. Hi, Iro. Hello.
Hi.
How are you? Good afternoon. It is lovely to see
Well, good
you.
evening. Yeah.
Right, good evening.
Same here. Same here.
I keep forgetting, and it's been such a rainy day here. So it got really dark. I was worried that there was going to be a thunderstorm, but things have started to clear out. Thank God. It's still raining, but it's nice. How are you doing today?
So we'll have a nice day here. It's been a good day. I had some bad news
Oh
earlier, but
dear.
it's life, ups, downs, good, bad, and you find a way to just sort of rise above it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to this discussion
Yeah.
or conversation.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. It was really short notice. Now, what happened was I noticed that you had reopened your salon, and once I saw that, I'm like, yes, I want to have a conversation with you because you are in several businesses, but then your Salon and Spa business, particularly, you're dealing with human beings one on one. You have human beings that have to work on people's hairs, people's body, and that must have been a lot of consideration figuring out how to open this period. Before we go into that conversation, though, let's get to know you. Who is Iro? Where has Iro come from? Who is Iro now? Tell us that journey.
Okay, so my name is Iroghama Obuoforibo. I am an entrepreneur, serial one, I think. I have the opportunity to work in three different businesses in three different industries as well. So oil and gas, marine logistics company. We have 11 vessels working offshore, supporting the international oil companies in their operations. We also have a private security company that has about 400 guards working in her employ. And then, of course, there's the beauty brand called Heaven, which is the one you just referred to. We own two salons and a spa, and we also manufacture our own products, haircare products. So that's Iro in a nutshell. And yes, I have two beautiful girls. They're 3 years old, and I'm extremely proud of to be their mama.
You've got like, I feel like when I think about you, I'm like, how is she doing it? How many hands do you have? How are you able to manage it? I mean, it's one thing to have a person who's,
I was about to help you count.
I think that it's one thing to have a person who's got multiple businesses within the same industry or within industries that are very intertwined, but you've got businesses in three different industries that are not necessarily relating with each other. So how are you making that
Yeah.
work?
Structure. So structure and more structure. And also, there are certain things that no matter what, we can't run away from the fact that there's some things that are innate, right? And then there's a place for mentorship. So I learned a lot. My dad is one of my biggest mentors, astute businessman and a professional to the core. So definitely sitting under his mentorship has helped me build the capacity that's required to be able to run these multiple businesses. But there are certain things and certain principles that are standard across them, that apply to all the businesses, right? So there are business principles that still apply to the security company, apply to this beauty brand. There's also the aspect of strategy. There's a place for strategy. There's a place for innovation. There's a place for human resource management, and all those factors are applicable across board. So it's only when you get to the technical aspect of the operations that you now begin to distinguish between the three businesses. But technically, running all of them is almost relatively the same. It still requires the same level of leadership skill. It still requires the same level of patience, sort of thought process, and just your ability to basically drive people and get them to buy into your vision, run with it, and make a success of it. So all three businesses require that skill. So I guess it kind of
You
helps.
talked about something that I like to talk about a lot, mentorship. A lot of people say, I want a mentor or I want to be a mentor. How do you make that relationship work, especially to your situation? It's a peculiar situation. It's your dad. Where do you draw the line between, yeah, my daddy, I'm your baby girl, to you're my mentor, I'm your mentee? How do you manage that? And how do you manage the relationship with other people that are mentors and other people that you mentor as well?
Okay, so for me, I have great mentors. Aside from my father, who didn't have a choice, by the way, he was automatically a mentor, whether he liked it or not. I have great male and female mentors, people who mentor me for different aspects of my life. I think it's also important to identify why you need a mentor. So it's
Mm.
not just keying into a fad or thinking that this is in vogue or my friend has a mentor or it looks like it's cool to have a mentor. You have to be very clear as to what's the objective of this mentor-mentee relationship, right? And then also, if you once you're clear about that, then it guides the relationship. I find that a lot of people, and your mentor doesn't always have to be someone who's popular, someone who's out there, because most times you find that they can't even mentor you personally because they're so busy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And a lot of people just like you want to be mentored by them. So if you don't understand what you want from the relationship, then you you as a mentee, you might get dissatisfied, right? Because this person doesn't have the time that you have hoped that they would have, or they're not giving you the sort of attention that you would have liked to receive from them. And then you tag them a bad mentor. But that's not
Mm,
necessarily the point, because the point is, what were you going into the relationship for? What was your agenda? And then also I find with my mentors that they like vice versa relationships. They don't like oh, I'm just here to drink
yeah,
from you. Like, that doesn't make them feel good that you want to drink from them. They have to be filled up as well. Because just as you're drinking, like 50 million other people are also drinking. Their businesses are drinking from them. Their marriages are drinking from them. Their kids are drinking from them. So they want to be filled as well. So I find that most of the people that are my mentors, that I call my mentors today, they appreciate that I'm bringing something to the table as a mentee, not just coming to collect, but I'm also, there's a trade-off, right? So I'm able to help, I'm able to add value, and then I'm serious. So a lot of mentees, they come and they say, oh, so after the first conversation, there's that commitment is not there. So if you're looking for a mentoring relationship, then you have to be ready to put in the work.
mm,
Because if a mentor is going to take time out to teach you, to counsel, to advise, to be a sounding board for you, for your ideas, they expect that when they discuss with you and you set milestones, that you go out and achieve those
right.
milestones. It sucks to finish having a 1 hour session and you agree that in 2 weeks this XYZ will be done, and in 2 weeks time you can't even find your mentee, and then 3 weeks later they show up and like, oh yeah, this happened to me and that happened to me.
Excuses.
All you need to do is do that twice, and then you lose the
Yeah,
relationship, right? So there's a lot that goes into this sort of relationships, and I feel that both parties have to go in understanding the expectations of the other party, right? So the mentor understanding what the mentee wants to take out of that relationship, and the mentee also equally understanding what the mentor is able to give and what the mentor's expectations are of them in terms of what their outputs would be, right? Because it's a relationship after all. So as regards mine with my dad, I mean, I'll be his, his little girl, maybe for, I'm sure, for life, no matter how old I get. So it started off with him just basically watching me want to start and grow my own business and being extremely interested in how I was going about it. And I remember him teaching me how to use Excel
aw,
when I mean, I didn't have the software. Yeah, how to use Excel to record my sales, how to determine my cost of goods and things like that. And, so we've come a very long way in the journey of mentorship in terms of entrepreneurship. And now I've worked with him. So we've transitioned from me being my own sole entrepreneur, doing my thing, and him just keeping a watchful eye, and me now working with him, helping him build his business, take it to the next level and grow it, right? So there's a different kind of mentorship that I'm experiencing with him. I'm learning leadership. So I'm
yeah,
learning leadership. So I'm going away from learning how to run a business to now how to lead people, how to lead by example, how to lead by integrity, what kinds of values I should have as a leader, how to tackle issues, how to manage people that work under me, and how to negotiate and how to engage third parties. So it's a different sort of lesson that I'm learning, like a different stage. But I mean, I'm enjoying it, and I'm glad. Earlier, I just want to make another point about mentorship. And when I talked about identifying what you want out of it. So one person might not be able to mentor you on everything because
true.
nobody's
Mm-hmm.
perfect. So for example, you want a mentor on life's issues. So let's say you're married and you want a mentor who can mentor you as regards marriage. You need to identify someone who you believe, you respect, you trust, their life is an example to you. Obviously, you aspire to be what they are in their marriage, and you feel that you can connect with their experience and learn from it. And then you connect to that. And then they might not be the best business
Yeah.
person, so they might not be able to necessarily mentor you, in a professional career or even in your entrepreneurial journey, but they can mentor you in terms of life. So that's why really just understanding what your expectations are, what you want to achieve, is extremely important in going into that kind of
I
relationship.
really like that you talked about having different mentors for different things, because that's something that I have as a person. And I remember I was speaking to one of my mentors. It was a group mentoring call that he had, and we were all just talking about where we were and the gaps that we felt we wanted to fill, because he recognized he couldn't fill all the gaps, but he was like, perhaps I know a person who would be happy to work with you, right? So let's talk about it. And I said to him that I did not have a female mentor. I didn't have a female in close proximity that I could talk to about female things. You know, I had a spiritual mentor that was male. I had a career mentor who was him helping me navigate my career, but I didn't have a female mentor. And something he said to me was the fact that you're able to identify that you need that is already you doing 50% of the work. Now, what we're going to do is determine the exact things you need from a female mentor, and then we'll identify someone and we'll figure out how you can approach that person. Because he didn't know anyone he could recommend, but we figured out a strategy to pinpoint a bunch of people that I could approach. So it's that thing where you just need to recognize that there are certain gaps that different people need to fill in you and reach out to have those things filled. So I like that you mentioned that. Now, with working, I mean, what some of the businesses you're running are like family businesses, right? Let's talk a bit about that transition. How did you go from being that young girl who was just the Oga's daughter to being the young girl who is running the show?
Yeah. Well, I think that for anyone who has worked in the family business and particularly not grown through the ranks, I didn't grow through the ranks. I didn't come in as an intern, fresh off university, and then began to climb my way up. No, I came in like right at the top, right? So I'm sure anybody else who's been in that position before and who has had to be placed in such a responsible role at a top level would have probably faced just exactly what you said, where people are first of all going to view you from a place of skepticism, like, okay, you're here not necessarily out of merit or because you actually know what you're doing, but you're here just because your dad or your mom owns the business. And maybe if they didn't own the business, you wouldn't even be here. You wouldn't have this platform. So certainly, I think the first thing first is believing in yourself.
Right.
So I knew my worth. I was running my business, right? I was poached from my business to come and work in.
Your father poached you.
I was running my business. Literally, after a lot of cajoling from consultants, right? So I wasn't like jobless and had nothing doing, and he just thought, oh, what am I going to just do with this child of mine? Come and do this. No, like my dad is extremely principled, and you would never catch him dead doing that kind of thing. Never, no, because he values the future of his employees, so he's not going to risk it because of one family member, right? So it was a case of I had sort of proven myself. And I had displayed that I had a certain level of capacity to take on this sort of responsibility. I had also shown him that I was responsible financially in terms of my lifestyle, in terms of my spending habits, and just how I viewed money and how I treated money. So I had shown him all those things. So when the opportunity came and I was recommended for the position, aside from him just being afraid that I didn't have the technical capacity to run the business, it was a case, he didn't doubt my integrity. He didn't doubt that, okay, maybe she can try, but I don't know, is it going to be too much for her? So, and that's why he gave it a shot, right? So I now had, so he, while he believed in me, I had this group of almost like 100 people I was suddenly, leading, who now I needed them to now believe in me to say that whatever dad saw or whatever the consultant saw, I needed them to see it as well and trust me that I could lead them to wherever the company was going. So I couldn't come in with an attitude. I couldn't come in like thinking, oh, I'm going to call the shots here. No, I had to come in extremely humble. I had to bring myself down. I had to show people that, I'm here to work for both of us. So I had to get them on board with me. So I didn't come in with any expectations. I came in with zero expectation. And apart from the fact that I was scared shitless as well, but I came in with no expectations. I came in with an open mind and a mind to learn because I hadn't been in the business before. So obviously there was a lot that I could learn from my colleagues at that time. So even though I was fast, my brain processes really quickly, even though I had been running my own business, calling my own shots and doing things my way, I had to learn how to work with this new set of people who were also much older than me. So there was a place for being firm and there was a place for being kind and fair and just, aside from just being firm. So I needed to learn that. And this is a 29-year-old who you've just thrown into this, multi-million-dollar company and put her at the helm of affairs, and you're saying, run it and do, call the shots. And so
and make it
it was a
successful,
real
make
learning
it work.
process.
Yeah, that's
Exactly,
impressive.
make it work, make it thrive, make it grow, because that's the real test of your ability. That you come in and you've taken something from where it was and you've been able to take it up a few notches,
And you've
right,
done
over a
that.
period
You've
of
done
time.
that over the past couple of years.
with help from my guys at work. Yes, I have. Thankfully, I have to give them credit because they do a lot of the work. So yes, we've managed to get the company to a point where it's thriving even in a recession. We've had two recessions, two downturns in the space of about 4 years, and the company has still continued to grow. And it's really amazing, what good leadership, visionary leadership can do, what teamwork can
Yeah.
do, being able to get people's buy-in into what you're doing and then get them to believe in it and be committed and dedicated enough to work with you and take you to the promised land. It's
I think
amazing.
a takeaway for me from what you said is first, you need to in your space build competence, right? Show capacity, show that you know what you're doing. And then when opportunity comes, even with that competence that you have, you need to approach every new opportunity from a place of humility, from a place of openness to new knowledge and learning.
Like,
Yeah, that is definitely a key takeaway,
exactly.
I would say. So you talked about helping the business and it's thrived through recessions. You've got three businesses you're running. You've reopened your salon and spa in the middle of a pandemic. Talk us through that process, that mental process, and everything that goes into that to even come to a place where you're able to confidently say, okay, I am going to reopen and I am going to help my customers and my staff feel safe coming to work despite everything going on in the country and in the world right now.
So I'm just going to backtrack a bit to when we began to realize that this this shit was real, basically. Like at the point where we realized that it was going to have very far-reaching implications on everything from our revenue to our livelihood to everything about life as we knew it, basically. And that was like in March,
Mm-hmm.
right? When they shut the airspace, when the Nigerian government began to restrict flights. And then I think that's when a lot of people woke up to the reality that this coronavirus is real. And even though we don't really know what's going on, it's going to affect us in some way. Even if we didn't believe that it was real, all we knew was that something big is happening and we need to really keep our eyes, focused on what's going on. And so from March, as a business, as a beauty business, we began to experience low sales. We began to see people, because people were unclear on what exactly was going on, people decided to be, err on the side of caution.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't coming in much. So by the end of March, when we were closing, our sales, we had experienced like record low sales than we had in the past, like maybe in the past 2 years. So I knew it was time to have a conversation with my team. And obviously we had to shut down because everybody was shutting down, even though the government hadn't said shut down as at that point, but other businesses were shutting down. So it seemed like the responsible thing to do was to also shut
Mm-hmm.
down while you figured out what was going on. So I had a session. Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
So I had a session with my team, after we closed, and let them know that we're shutting down indefinitely, meaning that we weren't going to be opening. I didn't know, because I had no answers. Even as the CEO, I had no answers for them. I didn't know what we're gonna do, where we're gonna go from there. But all I knew was that we had to shut down, and that things were not very clear. So I paid everyone off, and I said I was going to pay you, try to save, because this might even be the end of the world for all we know. So just prepare and make peace with God at this point, if rapture comes and all of that. So we shut down and it was like temporary. Let's see, are we going to open next week? So my manager would call me every week. So are we opening? So what's the plan? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know who to ask. So let's just watch and see. And then the lockdowns began. So they began to lock down everywhere. So in April, we had a few lockdowns, so we were shut down. Then we had some time in between where people would call, oh, please, I really, really need a service because I'm still working. People were still working. People were working on Zoom, and so they still needed to look presentable, even though
Yeah.
they weren't going
Yeah.
into the office. And most of them, their offices required them to have the video on. So they couldn't get away with no video and just some nice looking picture there. They had to look presentable. So they still required services. So we tried our best during that time. First of all, we refused any home service because I couldn't guarantee the safety of my workers in a space other than mine. At least within my space, I could ensure certain measures were put in place, and I could ensure that the client did certain things. But in their space, it would have been impossible to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we took only very few critical appointments at that time. And it was costly because we had to run our generators, for power, and you'd have just one or two people in your space. But because we had to meet the needs of this particular client and we really didn't know what was going on, we did. So we had very poor sales in April. We lost a lot of money in April, lost a lot of money in May. And then things now began to ease off and we're like, okay, we're going to open. So by May, I realized that lockdowns were being lifted, restrictions seemed to be lifting. People were literally, economy was opening up again. So people were like, are you not going to open? We need to come back in. I need to wax. I need to do my chin hairs like all over the place. I need all of that stuff. So we spent all of May. I was having conference calls with my team, my management team every night. I think they were sick of me. We were strategizing, like from our brand image, because before we had positioned ourselves as luxury at an affordable price, luxury ambience, nice environment, professionalism, customer service. And suddenly nobody really cares about your luxury ambience. Now people just care about, I want to be safe. I want to do my hair and live here without the coronavirus. Is that possible? And so it's not even about how plush your chairs are at this point. Is this safe for me to come and do my service and render and receive my service? So we had to reposition ourselves from luxury and nice and beautiful and comfortable to safe. As simple as that. So that was that first shift. Like, we're going to have to shift our brand image and make it about that this is the place to come if you want to be safe, you want to receive services safely. So then there was also, what do we do about the staff? So we had to I had to read up. So thankfully, I'm part of two foundations that have worked throughout the COVID, the pandemic and the shutdown. One from a palliative perspective, the other from a medical intervention perspective. So through the Medical Intervention Foundation, I've learned a whole lot. I've taken a lot of training on how to on COVID-19 and how to act, when to use different kinds of PPE. So I knew when not to use gloves. Like in my salon, they don't use gloves unless they would have ordinarily used gloves. So instead, we've made available wash stations in every location, and we're teaching the staff, you wash your hand before you work on a client and after you work on a client, before you get to the next client. As opposed to wearing gloves, and you have this false sense of protection.
Right.
Meanwhile, you're just carrying virus from one place to another because you feel, oh, I'm wearing gloves. So it was very important to sort of understand. But if you hadn't had all that training and exposure, you would just be opening like, oh, let's just open and spray some disinfectant here, and then it's going to be fine. So we had to basically just look at our entire process. How many clients can we have at a time? We had to move to tech, so people could now have to book appointments. So you're calling to book appointment. Before, you're just walking. So you walk in, the whole place will be full, and you see there'll be nowhere to sit. But now we're like, we don't want any crowd. You're like, you have to book, and you have to change the mindset, not just of your staff, but even of your clients. I had clients asking me, oh, who wants to book an appointment? There's corona. There's COVID. COVID-19 is why you have to book an appointment. But aside from that, there was a thing. So I had to basically show them that it's even better for you if you book an appointment, because then you save the waiting time. But now in Nigeria, when you come to the salon, you could be here for 5 hours waiting for your turn. But now you book an appointment. So there will be staff waiting for you. You come in, you get your service within 1 hour, 2 hours, you're done, and you go about the rest of your day. So you can even plan better. And they're like, oh, that's a good point. I'm like, wow, Corona wasn't good enough a point. So we have to show the other value add to making an appointment.
That is such a quick pivot.
That
is such a quick pivot right there, because sometimes the thing that's obvious is not even the thing that people care about. You have to figure out the emotional connection to this new thing you're bringing. I like it.
Exactly. Yeah. So there was a lot of training, there was a lot of planning that went on behind the scenes, and we decided, okay, we're going to open for real 1st of June. We had to buy hand sanitizers, we had to buy gallons of hand washed, antibacterial hand wash. We had to install a wash station, and then everything had to be non-contact. So even your tap is such that you swipe your hand and you're able to wash your hand. Now we're having to get like hand dryers, automated hand dryers, so you can just dry your hand. So basically, you don't have to touch anything. I wish they could just blow and the door opens. I really, really wish that we could do that and install one of those doors as well where you don't have to touch. So now everybody's like, I don't want to touch. I just want to come in and float in, do my service and go away. And that's the reality of our times, right? We have to check your temperature at the gate. Without a mask, you don't enter our premises. You must wear a mask. No mask, no entry. So life has truly changed from what we've known it as. And, people are trying as much as possible to get comfortable with the new reality. It's not easy. It's extremely difficult. But I think that as we see the numbers rising, we realize this is probably going to be here a while. So we're trying to figure out, how do I exist alongside this virus? How do I still thrive? How do I still get things done, even while in the middle of a
Yeah.
pandemic? Someone needs to write a book about that, by the way.
I feel like
How to thrive in a pandemic.
I feel like a bunch of business owners need to just come together and, write a couple of books really, because there will be a lot of lessons, I think, from this season, from 2020 as a year.
Yeah.
It will be that year that a lot of us learn a lot of lessons, learn to sort of sit down with ourselves a little bit more and figure things out in a different way.
Yes.
There's a comment up here, and that was going to be my next question. Everything that you've spoken about, I feel like there's a lot of thought that went in, a lot of effort, and definitely a lot of money that went into that. How are you how are you
Yeah.
balancing that out, and how are your customers responding? I mean, you shared a bit about your customers' response to the reopening, but then with things like no mask, no entry, there might be some changes in the cost of services that you're familiar with. How are you managing that between your staff, your customers, and helping there be a balance so that it's not a total loss for you as a business owner?
Exactly. So I want to just first of all say that one of the other things that we had to do was to look at our product offering, right? So because even the need of your client is
Mm,
changing, right? So whereas the client was okay coming in and doing all kinds of hairstyles and designs and things like that because they were going out, now they're not going out anymore. So they're most likely, oh, I just want to throw on a wig. So they're coming to you to weave their hair only, as opposed to doing all kinds of exorbitant
mm-hmm.
styles. So we had to quickly think, okay, what would our clients like at this time? And what can we, how can we channel our energy? So there's the thought is like you're revamping everything, not just your processes. You're also looking at your products as
Mm,
well and saying, is my product still relevant today in terms of in terms of the new reality that we're in? So we had to quickly begin to offer other products. So we amped our skincare products, what was available, because you have more people doing it
yeah.
themselves as opposed to coming in wigs. We're now focusing on producing wigs so that people can have more wider variety of how they look, since they still need to look presentable at work through Zoom and other Microsoft Teams and other platforms. So in terms of the cost, so obviously it came with a cost, because I mean, last time I checked, the cost of buying a digital thermometer was like anything between 40 to 50,000 naira,
Mm,
right? And you're going to buy a batteries to run it. A pack of 4 batteries is 1,000 naira. Only God knows how long those batteries last when they're checking like 20 people, 30
mm-hmm.
people's temperatures every day. And then you're buying. So all those things are cost. Hand sanitizers, I don't want to go there. How expensive hand sanitizers are. So there definitely was a cost. And then the cost of goods increased. Restrictions along the borders, internationally and locally. So obviously the things you could get at a particular price, suddenly we're getting them for almost double the
Yeah.
price. So ideally, who would have paid for this extra cost? Ideally, it would be the client, right? And that was the sentiment that my manager shared, like, oh, we have to increase all our prices. But I said to him, we're not in this pandemic alone. Our clients, our customers are also suffering just like us. Some of them have lost their jobs. Some of them now earn maybe 40% less salary. Some of them, their partners no longer work. Their businesses have shut down, unlike ours that can still thrive, that still has a market. Some of them, they've lost all their customers, but they still need to receive these services. So we need to find the balance between trying to ensure that, like you said, we're not running out of loss, but at the same time, our clients can still come in and receive the service that they're used to receiving. So I had to do a lot of like due diligence on the price list. Like there had to be a proper justification. I had to put on my customer cap to
Mm,
say, if I'm a client, would I really pay this for this service? Can I afford to do this at this time? Can we afford to leave the price? If our margins before were such that it could accommodate the new increase in product, then let's do that. So this is a time for us and our customers to band together, to hold together and say, we're going to get through this time, this season together, so we can come out standing at the end, and then we can continue and pick up the beautiful relationship from where we left off. And that's basically what we've done. So we've tried, at least so far, most of our customers who have come, they still enjoy the same services, at the same price that they used to. And anyone that's increased, we're able to justify. I say that word, you must be able to justify it. You must be, like, from a conscience
yeah.
perspective, you must be able to justify it. I am not of the school of thought that this is a time to profiteer off anybody's
Mm,
pain, of anybody at this time, because, oh, I have the opportunity, I'm going to just rip people off now. I'm not of that school of thought. I believe that you reap what you sow, and I want to sow the right seeds as a person and as a business, even at a time like this, so that when I harvest, I will be harvesting like really bountifully, and God will remember that I sowed this sort of seeds at this time.
I, yeah, everything that you said just now is like perfect, perfect for me because you said something about your customer cap, and I think that that is a thing that anyone who is in, whether you're a worker, whether you're an entrepreneur, you always need to be able to think from the perspective of your customer. Think about your product offerings and think about how that impacts your customer. Do you want to have a situation where your customer leaves your business feeling like they have been completely ripped off and made naked, or do you want them to feel like they have been cared for? And I think that that's the perspective that you're
Exactly.
coming from, and that is beautiful. You guys have opened, so you've been open for about 2 weeks now. How has it been so far?
Yeah.
What's the response like? How do your customers feel? How do your staff feel? We need to talk about your staff. How do they feel with the reopening?
So I think my staff are trying to adjust. They're really, really trying their best to get used to the new, having to wear a mask or a face shield or
And
both
wash their hands
from when they
multiple
walk into the
times.
community. Yeah, to the end. And basically they can't hug each other anymore. They can't they less talking in the space, and if you're not doing any work, you have to be outside or in
Wow.
the other building. So it's a lot of change for them. But they understand because obviously they're watching the news, and there's a lot of sensitization that we're doing because we need them to understand. They can't afford to go home and get brainwashed by the people in their home saying, "Oh, there's no corona; it's rich people's illness." Well, guess what? You work on rich people, so you best be taking care of yourself. if really it's rich people's illness, so then we had to do a lot of information providing and just sensitization, basically. But for our clients, so far, our clients are happy, and I think it was important for us to do a video because up till now, I still get people asking me, "Oh, are you guys open now? Are you guys open now?" So, and then I get drilled a lot on Instagram. What sort of measures have you put in place since you want to open? What are your plans for your clients? How are you going to guarantee our safety? And that's why I had to do that video. So I did a video that basically just showed the world that this is what we're doing as a small business, a beauty business in the city of Port Harcourt. This is what we're doing to try our best to ensure that we curb the spread of the coronavirus within our facility. These are the measures we've put in place. To protect your safety, and we basically wanted them to also understand what we're doing, where we're coming from, so they could abide. For example, no mask, no entry. So I've not had any incidents where clients have come and they try to challenge the security for not letting them in because they had no mask. So in fact, what I did as well was that I bought like a lot of masks, like about 100 masks in my store, and I have it. So when you come, if you get to the gate and you don't have a mask, we can actually provide you with a new mask in the packet,
Good.
right? So you don't have to go away because we have said, "Oh, no mask, no entry."
That's
So I
another
think
quick
that
pivot
there's been
right
a
there
lot of
because now you're a beauty business that has masks as well.
and mask for sale. So you're at the gate. Oh, I don't have no mask. Oh, here you go. So and that's just another service, and it belongs to you. Go away with it because it's reusable. You can wash it, use it again, and then so that way you're able to come, and even if you forgot, you can still come in and access your service. So our clients, I think so far we've gotten quite good response compared to the previous months. So it's obvious that people were dying to come back, to receive their services. And once they come in, this place is not as full as it used to be because we try to take more of appointments than walk-ins. We call and we've educated our customers on what they need to be doing. So we find that people are comfortable sending their kids over to come in and receive the service, which was something that we're concerned about. Our kids, because we used to always have a lot of kids. We love our kids, and they were one of our biggest customer base. And we worried that we're going to lose that. But now gradually the confidence is growing and people are coming in. I think people just want to come and check. Is this for real? Do you really have these measures in place? Are you really serious about it? Do I come and do I see a crowd, or do I come in and I can comfortably get my service, and go away? But don't get me wrong. I mean, we're not where we used to be. And I have no expectation as of today that I'm going to get back to where we used to be tomorrow. Like, I'm literally taking it one day at a time. And that's what I tell my staff. I said, we have no targets. So previously, we always had a target. Like, oh, we want to smash this target this month. Right now, we have no target. I'm like, let's just be happy to be alive,
Yeah.
right? Let's just be happy that we're able to open tomorrow. Let's be happy that we're able to make 1 naira tomorrow at the end of day today. So there's no target. There's no, oh, we're struggling to go meet this. We're just saying, let's focus on the safety, on quality that we're known for, and just to be
Yeah.
alive for now,
Yeah.
right? Survive now, while still giving them what they need. So I think that my staff are gradually getting used to this new way of life and the expectations from them. It's not easy. It's not even easy for me, even as a
Imagine.
business
Yeah.
owner, even as exposed and as knowledgeable as I am. It's still tough,
Yeah.
right? But the reality stares us in the face every day. We're reminded almost on a daily basis on that this is real and that we're living in it, and we're just going to have to find a way to survive it and thrive even in it.
Let's
So.
talk a bit about mental resilience because I think that, just being able to see this situation, recognize it for what it is, and then make decisions that help you adapt and be flexible and pivot and just figure out the little things that you need to figure out so that at least you can move forward. And I feel like moving forward is also a thing of responsibility, right? Because you being successful in your business is a form of livelihood for the people who work for you. So your business folding is bad for them. That is you. So
Mhm,
I think, taking on that
mhm.
responsibility and saying, I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to egg on, that has to have some sort of it has to require some sort of mental capacity. Where is your head at? What are you doing to strengthen your mind and your will? How are you figuring that out and not just saying to yourself, you know what, I am not doing anything again. My hands are up. I'm done. How are you able to do that?
In fact, I was taking deep breaths just as you were speaking and explaining it and putting it in words, because sometimes you just think it, we never really verbalize it, and you don't understand the weight of what you're carrying until someone else actually puts it in words for you, just as you've done. And the truth is, I try not to think about it. Well, aside from the obvious fact that God, the God factor, I'm a believer, and God has been faithful and He has been fantastic, and I believe strongly that the reason why we're able to keep doing what we're doing and why I have the capacity that I have today is because of God, and I completely trust in that. But I also have learned how to compartmentalize, and I think it's I always say, is it a blessing or is it a curse? And everyone says it's a blessing, but I think it can also be a curse, because then you might run away from confronting certain things when you should, because you've learned how to just put it away in a box, lock it up, and throw away the key, and never find the key again. But anyways, I have actually learned how to compartmentalize. So first of all, running three different businesses at the same time and being involved in them, you already have to sort of work out that muscle
Mm,
of compartmentalizing.
yeah.
You don't want to get things mixed up, when you're having a conversation about shipping and you're talking about security. No, you can't afford to do that. So you already learn how to separate all of these things in different boxes and then deal with them as it comes up. So this is just another, I say it's just another test, another experience, right? Just as maybe other experiences that we might have had in our lives. So if you look at it that way, then it's not going to look like the end of the world to you, because the
Mm,
other experiences were not the end of the world to you. You're
right.
still here to
Right.
experience this experience. So what that says is that if I could get over the other experiences, deal with them, process them, and come out of it still standing, then I can equally do the same for here. So it helps you sort of put things in perspective. And then you made a very good point. You have people that are counting on you. You honestly can't even afford that time to crawl under the table and cry and cry and cry on days on end. You can do that in the first few days while you're trying to wrap your mind around it, but you cannot afford to stay there. You have to come out from under the table and then look at the thing and say, I'm going to just take you, face you head on, and I'm going to figure you out. So because all these people, they rely on me, they depend on me. So I was still paying some form of salaries, even though we were losing over 5 million naira every month for April and for May. I still had to pay my staff some kind of salary because they needed to still survive. I still needed them to be alive to come back to work when we would eventually open. And I was able to do that, not because we had savings, and that's also like part of that sense of responsibility. So when the times were good, when everything was great and juicy, what were you doing with your funding? Were
Right.
you just saying, okay, this is time for me to just take, or were you also saving, not because you thought COVID was going to come, but just because, for that rainy day? And guess what, that rainy day is here, and it
Came
came with like
heavy.
with thunderstorms, and like really, really heavy. So we were able to continue to support our staff even during this season because we had some savings. We had some money that we could call, sort of dip into and support them before we were able to now reopen, now when people can now look forward to, better remunerations and than they had during the lockdowns and the shutdowns. So I think that honestly, just that sense of responsibility alone is enough to sort of jolt you a bit and wake you up
Yeah.
to the reality that I need to deal with this, just so that I can be there for my people.
Yeah.
And so I can, because they're relying on, they're looking to you for leadership. And then just learning how to compartmentalize and being easy on yourself. I'm learning how how to catch my breath. Catch your breath. It's okay. It's okay to take a pause. Like, for example, like yesterday, last night around 8 p.m., got a notification that the part of our state was going to be locked down. And that is the core of our operations for the shipping company. That is the core. All of our crew are there. Our vessels are there. Our operations base is there. If they lock it down, then that's a problem. That means we might not be able to access. And, I could have panicked. I could have been like, oh my God, I could have had sleepless nights, like holding my head. What am I going to do? Everyone's going to be looking to me to lead them now. In this time, they're going to be looking to me for the answers. I have no answers. I didn't see this coming. I could have had all of that and just go into panic mode, and then I'll have just shrunk and hid. You know what I did? I went to sleep. I went to sleep. I had no answer, so I went to sleep. Literally. And I slept very well. Woke up at 1 to have my usual prayers, and then I went back to sleep afterwards. And then in the morning, when I woke up in the morning, I was able to now think about it. Okay, what is the way forward? Had a consultation meeting with my chairman. Okay, this is what we can do. Thought about it some more. Then fixed the meeting with my team for later in the day. Said, let's figure this thing out and come out with an action plan. They would have thought I spent the whole night. I did not spend. I slept because I had to catch my breath. So that's the point I'm trying to make, that it's okay to catch your breath. Like, I didn't need to react at that time. You don't need to react, because then you might even end up making mistakes or making the wrong choices or wrong decisions. So take a step back, catch your breath, and then, go back to the battlefield. It's okay.
I like that we're having this conversation. The lady I spoke to just before speaking to you, Colleen, she, we talked about emotions and reacting versus responding. I feel like what you did between yesterday and today is taking the time to respond and not just react to the craziness of it all. You didn't allow the weirdness of the situation just get to you and throw you off. With the things that you're saying, in my head, I'm thinking we can possibly call out some would I say leadership principles or some sort of characteristics of people who can potentially make good leaders. And I think that the first would be being able to compartmentalize, and the second would be being able to catch your breath, like you said. Just when the situation happens, take a step back, breathe, and then come back to deal with it, right? So if you were to give two more, what other two sort of traits and characters do you think that a person should learn and imbibe if they want to be a good leader?
So there are 4 I would give, and they're very simple. I'm sure that once I call them out, if you sort of just relate to them. And I learned that from a very wonderful woman, mentor, a distant mentor of mine. And she said when she was speaking, she said 4 things that guide her, everything she does. Number 1, be kind. Number 2, be firm. Number 3, be fair. And number 4, be just. So I would say, so think about it. Just try to take time to sort of see, how does that apply to your relationship with your staff? How does that apply to people that you're leading? How does that apply to people, third parties, contractors that work for you? How does that apply to clients that you work for? How can you apply all those principles? So when you're at the negotiation table, how do you apply those principles? When you're setting your pricing in the middle of a crisis with your clients, how do you apply those principles? When you're trying to tackle staff-related issues, how do you apply those principles? So I feel that in every time that I've had to take an action, react, or respond, like you said, go into my client's office to engage, or go into a meeting to engage, I try to think, am I being kind? Am I being firm enough? Am I being fair enough? Am I being just enough? So those principles guide me. And aside from all the other ones that, of course, you would read from your Harvard Business Review article, or you would get from the coaches and stuff, these are the principles that I literally go by as a leader. So since we're talking about leadership now and not management, because 2 different things, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So as a leader, I try to be guided by those 4 principles, and I heard those words in 2015. That's when I heard those words, and they've never left me since then. They've come in very handy for me.
Well, I'm definitely going to take them from you, and I'm going to hold on to them as well. I'm sure there are going to be people on here who would do the same as well. That is so beautiful. Now we're going to let's shift a little bit from Iro, the the businesswoman, the entrepreneur, the leader, and let's talk about your babies. Let's talk about being a mom, because you have this busy life, this life that takes a lot of your brain cells. Of course, you use compassion in there, but then now you have this life that uses more of your heart, with your family and with your
Yeah.
daughters. So tell me about that. How are you
Mm.
balancing that? What's it like being a mom? How are you just living that life and basking in it?
It's tough being a working mom. We've heard that from Serena Williams. She's been an advocate of saying, look, it's really, really tough, right? And there's nothing like a strong support system. It's a strong support system that enables you go out there and do the things you need to do, chase your dreams, impact the lives that you've been destined to impact, while your kids are still getting the best of you and the best of life as you can give
Mm,
them. So it's tough, but I found the balance, and I must say that that's one of the beautiful things that have been birthed from the pandemic, right? I have to work from home. So working from home technically means seeing my babies like every day, as opposed to and mom's not traveling all the time. Mom's not, at work and then only seeing you in the evenings or in the mornings. Mom's with you from morning. I'm working downstairs, they're upstairs. They can hear my voice, they know that I'm around. Whatever is happening, even when they're sleeping, they know mom's there. It's a beautiful feeling for me, and I've had such a fantastic time with them in the last few months since we've been locked down and since the pandemic started. Well, technically, I mean, like I don't know how to explain the feeling. Like a couple of days, I was talking to a mentor of mine, even though he's business, like mentoring me from business, but I just said to him, like, is there a way that parents are meant to feel? I don't know. Is there like a grand way? Because I feel like I don't know if I'm feeling that. I don't know. Am I? Is it normal? Like I just feel like these are my girls. Like they are my homies. They're like my dude. They're like my, like my sidekicks. So I'm like, am I supposed to be? Isn't there supposed to be like a mommy feeling? Like am I getting this thing right? I was asking him, and he said, "Oh, it's you new generational people, you children. You people don't know how. That's how you are parenting. You're parenting like you. What do you call people? Generation X or Generation Y or whatever. That's why you're parenting like that. You can't feel the parenting because really, I just see them. I can't wait for them to get a bit older where we're having like we're gisting and they're wrapping my hair and we're doing makeup together. And I'm so excited about that time. It's really crazy. I'm seeing them as my friends now. So it is definitely a fulfilling journey. I mean, anybody who has a child, even whether biological or not, but just someone who looks up to you, someone who you inspire, right? Someone who loves you. When they look into your eyes, you can just see that they love you for everything. It's a beautiful feeling, and something that I wish that every woman who desires it gets to experience that.
it's interesting to hear you talk about it, and talk about it from this perspective of, what's the mother feeling? Because I find that a lot of times there are expectations to how you want a person to answer the question about what's it like being a mother, right? There's kind of like this standard where you want a woman to say, "Oh, it's all gooey." I don't know. I just feel like there's some expectations, but you're not experiencing that, and you're not bothered by it. Like you're enjoying just having your kids the way that they
I'm just
are, and
enjoying
and
it.
being happy with it.
That's right.
That is that
That's
is
right.
that I feel like that's a really brilliant thing. So how are you, I mean, now with them being home, I was talking to a lady on Instagram, and her 3 year, your kids are three, right? Your girls are three, right? So her
Yes.
her son is
Hmm.
3, and he wanted to go to school. He was missing school, and he was just really unhappy. Not like he was unhappy staying at home, but he missed his friends at school, and she had to take him to his school
His
to show
friends.
him,
Yeah.
okay, see, school is locked. I can't do anything about it. So are you having to deal with that kind of situation where it's like, mommy, what's going on? When are we going to go out?
Yeah. So it's funny that you bring this up because maybe a few weeks, a month ago, it's like 8 p.m. My kids had a shower, they're in their pajamas, and next thing they're dragging their school bag. I want to go to school. I'm like, this is not even the time that you go to school. Like, how are we at 8 p.m. and we're having this conversation about? I thought, okay, be going. So they start going down the stairs. I'm like, go, go, go to the front door. And she's going, I want to go to school. She's crying. I want to go to school. I want to go to school. I want my ballet. I want my ballet. And then she goes. Gets to the door, and of course the door is locked. And I'm like, the door is locked. There's no school today. It's nighttime. It's bedtime. So, you know what? So we had this whole
Oh
session of,
dear.
oh, I want to go to school. But it's interesting because that was like the only time. And so I didn't understand, was it that they had, during nap time, did they have a dream about like, oh, school? There's a place called school. We should be going there. We haven't been there in a while. Or was there like some epiphany or something? But since then, we actually haven't had any of those sessions. But they do, so we go through some school work in the mornings, right? With them, and then at least they get to play outside, and we live in an estate, so they get to play outside, so they still get to see a few children who are also playing
Okay.
around, even though they don't get to interact, but at least they get to see kids, even though they're not able to touch and play and stuff like that. But I haven't really had that whole thing of, oh, maybe they're so occupied with the fact that mommy is at home, like this is mommy is here every day. Mommy is here every day. Please, we don't want to go to school, we want to be with mommy. That's how I'm comforting myself for that. Maybe my children don't want to go to school because mommy is here. So I would like to stick with that
Yes.
version that mommy is around, so no school
As
desires
long
for
as the
now. Only
narrative is
mommy desires.
positive, we'll take it.
Yeah.
So I know, I
Yeah.
mean, going off of your Instagram and through the time that, wait, when did we meet? We met maybe, was it in 2013 or 2013?
2013.
Wow, it's been a
Yes.
long time. It's
7
been such a
years.
long time. And I know
It
you and
has
your dad
been.
have such a beautiful and unique relationship. I remember when your dad came over, I think when you won Next Titan, there was just that,
Yeah.
you could see the beauty of that bond. How are you celebrating Father's Day with your dad?
Well, unfortunately, he's not in town.
Oh,
He's in another state today, but I sent him a very nice video, which he liked.
oh,
And then, of course, I celebrated him on Instagram. We have this picture of us carrying my daughters on our backs and walking home, and the picture of taken from behind. I absolutely love that picture because I feel like it depicts how he has been in my corner all these years, and he continues to be. And I'm hoping that next time I see him, I'll be able to make up for today, not being together today. But I've spoken to him today a few times, of course. We've had a few very emotional moments today,
oh.
very nice moments. And I'm just going to give him a shout out. Happy Father's Day, Daddy. I love you from your little girl. Mwah.
Oh, that is beautiful. So we have just about 7 minutes, and we're going to do, two things, because I'm seeing messages on here, and I know that with the work that you've done specifically. I want to say that I don't know if you're proud of yourself. I think that you are, but you should be proud of yourself for all the work that you've done towards reopening during the pandemic. I think that a lot of people who run businesses need to sort of learn from that and just understand that it's possible, because a lot of people are despondent. A lot of people don't know where to turn, and having someone that has done it, I think, is a very huge encouragement. So thank you for doing it, and thank you for even talking about it to where people can
Thank you.
know that that is something that is possible for them to look forward to. So you should be very proud of yourself. um
Thank
Now,
you.
if you could say one thing to a person who has a business and is trying to figure out what to do right now to sort of reposition themselves for now and for the future, because whether we like it or not, it might take a long time, but it will end. All things come to an end, so it'll end, and there will be a new way of doing things, a new reality. What sort of recommendation would you give to a person who has a small business or is trying to start a small business about preparing themselves for the future and just figuring themselves out in the now?
So I would say talk to someone, right? Because if you knew what to do, you would already be
Mm.
doing it, right? So obviously you probably are stumped, you don't know what to do. Write your thoughts down and find someone to speak to. And please make sure you're speaking to the right person, because I didn't do this on my
Mm.
own, right? I watched other people, I talked to a couple of people, and then I came up with my ideas, and I was inspired to say, okay, let me figure this thing out and sit down. What do I want? So I had to dig deep as well. So aside from just talking to someone else and getting their thoughts, their opinion, it's important that you try to find your own place. Like, okay, so I've gotten bits from here. So like, let's say you've listened to me, you've heard my story, listen to someone else, you hear that story, then you have to now sit down and sort of dig deep as to say, so what do I want?
Yeah.
So I wanted to come back, right? I wanted my business to resume. And I needed to figure out how. So I needed to look at different things. I need to look at what do I need to change. what are the processes? So let's start with processes. What processes need to change in line with NCDC's
Mm-hmm.
guidelines in terms of us being safe enough for people to come in here? That was one side. So do I need tech? Do I need to introduce technology into my business now? Would that help my clients? Do I need to introduce delivery services? So now you want to wash your weave or your wigs, you don't have to come in. You just send the dispatch rider, pick it up, bring it to us, we treat. When we're done, we send it back to you. So you never left your house, you never interacted with anybody, and you stayed safe. That was your preference, right? So you want to consult, send your regimen, not a hair care regimen on what you can do. You want products, I can send it to you. You don't need to leave your house. So you need to literally sit down and look at your entire business process and say, what are the areas that are going to be impacted by the COVID? So you need to start from somewhere. And sometimes having a conversation helps you to jumpstart. And that's why I said, have a
Yeah.
conversation. So if you want to have a conversation with me, I'm free, I'm available to
I
speak
was
to
going
you
to ask
about
that.
what you want to do. Yeah, so I'm available to have a conversation with you. Okay, how do I do this? And we can exchange ideas. And then you can, but most of the work still has to come from you because you understand your customer base better than any coach, better than any friend, better than any consultant that's going to come. You have been running the business. You know what you were doing before. You know what your customers liked and what they could like, right? So and you could figure it out. So once you start, but I like pen to paper. I love to write it
Mm.
or type. I don't know what whichever you prefer, but I like to put my thoughts, bring it out of your head and put it down literally because that's when it's in front of you, then you're able to change this and say, okay, this doesn't make sense. I want to change that. And then so just find someone to talk to, look at your process, dissect it. How is COVID impacting on my staff? How do my staff come to work? How do my clients receive my service? And how does COVID affect that? Okay, what sort of products? So I used to make a lot of beaded clothes, shiny, glittery stuff. But guess what? Nobody's wearing those things anymore. But it doesn't
Right.
mean that your skill set as a tailor or your skill set as a designer should go to waste. You can just simply change your product offering, like I said earlier, to say, okay, what are my clients now more likely using? So most of my clients are they? What sort of events are they attending now? What sort of
Online events.
what sort of things do they need? Yeah, exactly. So what do they need now on a more daily basis? Can I now do more? Most people are going more for trendy but comfortable.
Yeah.
Most people are going more for comfortable. Period. Because I'm sitting in my house, so I need to look nice, but in a comfortable way. So basically, what I'm saying is that you need to just dissect your business in a way that it makes sense to you and relate it to
Yeah.
COVID and how does coronavirus impact all these aspects of my business and begin to write stuff down, and you figure it out. And I'm available to have a
Well,
conversation.
thank you. I am so glad that you're even available to have this conversation with people. If you need to have a quick conversation, someone to help you think through things, please go right ahead and reach out to Iro. Thank you so much. I know it was really short notice and we got you, and this has been very helpful for even me. I'm not even a business person, but then just understanding all the work that goes through as a person who has a job, I can even better appreciate the amount of work that's happening on the levels, ahead of me, the kind of considerations my bosses are having to think about to keep us working and keep our customers satisfied. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tobe, for having me. This has been so much fun, and I looked forward to it since you told me about it, and I'm glad it's
Yes.
here. I'm glad that we've had a very good time. I enjoyed Carlin's session
Oh,
earlier. I thought it was
lovely.
very impactful. I hope that our conversation today has also been impactful to people who have tuned in and people who would also watch us
Yeah.
after now. Thank you so much for having me.
Alrighty.